that looks so big. Something very strange is going on, but that's okay. It's supposed to say Mando for Duffers, but I don't know why it just says Mand. Something very weird is going on with the aspect ratio of the camera versus the... So we'll see what happens here in a minute. Something very weird is going on. There's something very, I've got it's a brand new setup, so let's see if you can see me. Yeah, that's okay. I don't know why that Mando thing looks, that thumbnail looks so freaking huge, but it does. So here we are today, folks. Can you hear me okay? Tell me if the sound is okay. I've got a little bit different setup going on here today. New setup. I'm over in Studio C. That over there is Studio B. Upstairs is Studio A. So I'm over here in Studio C. So I don't know why I didn't stay in Studio B. I must be out of my mind to mess everything up. But it looks like you can see me okay. Good. Picture okay. Sound okay. Good. So what we're going to do today is it's our foray into music theory, and it's sort of stream of consciousness. You know, that's always the way I was when I was a teacher. I hated working from notes. I found more interesting things would come out of my mouth if I just kind of flew on the topic that I know well, kind of off the cuff. So let's see what happens. But so what we're going to do today, the objective here is to learn to read chord symbols on the mandolin. And tomorrow I'm doing the same thing with guitar. But you know, in order to read the chord symbols, you have to understand how scales are constructed, and you have to kind of know the notes on your fretboard. And so that's what this is mainly about here. But we're going to we're going to have some vocabulary today. Okay, so for the first thing of vocabulary, let's start out with, so you know the name of this string, right? That's the G, right? Yeah, everybody agree with me? G, yes, that's G. D, right? A, oh, a little out of tune. It's a mandolin, right? A, so we'll call that an A for now. E, okay, so G, D, A, E. Now, I'm going to show you that you know a note way up the fingerboard. If you go up to the 12th fret, count up, okay, if you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 13th note, 13 notes from here to the 12th fret. If you count this as the first one, right? So that's the same note. So that's G, D, A. Play along at home, folks. This is get in there and get acquainted. E, okay. Now on the fiddle, you know that's kind of where your harmonic is. You slide up there and grab that harmonic. So go. Open G, 12th fret. Oh, sorry, 10th fret. A, 12th fret. E, 12th fret. So we've learned three things there just with that little bit we just did. So we know that from one note from one note up to the octave, which is the same note but one range higher, we'll say, for the lack of a better term, is called an octave. O-C-T-A-V-E. And I can tell you right now, from here to there, there's 13 notes. So there's 13 notes in a particular type of scale. So let's do that again more. G, 12th fret, G, D, 12th fret, D, A, open, 12th fret, A, E, open, 12th fret, E. Okay, so from here to there is 13 notes. Now if I play all those notes in succession, so that's called an octave, right? Okay, octave, and oct, you know, is the symbol, oct is 8, the prefix 8. Okay, we'll get to that in just a moment. But if I play all from here to here, all those notes. Now some of you may know this. If it's an old hat, just bear with me, you know. So if I play all those notes in between, all 13 notes, it's called a chromatic scale. Chromatic, okay? So, like so, that's a chromatic scale. And if you play the full extent of the chromatic scale, it's 13 notes, okay? But from here to here is an octave. Why do we call it an octave? 8, because in a regular scale, let's just use a major scale as an example. Major scale, there's 8 notes. There's 8 notes, so 8 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. There's 8 notes. That's why we call it an octave, because in a regular major scale, it's 8 notes away, okay? But there's 8 notes in that scale, octave. So if I go up 8 notes, just like on the piano, if I'm playing in the key of C, you know, and I start on middle C and I go up to the next C, if I just play all the white keys, that's 8 notes to get from one octave to the next, okay? Let's see here. Where's my phone? I'm going to turn it off just for a moment so it doesn't interrupt us, so I don't get any important calls, offers coming in from the coast, anything like that. Let's see here if I can figure out how to turn the sound down. There we go. Okay, so now, we've established that. So let's now go on from there and talk about how you make a scale. How do you make a scale? Okay, so if I make a scale of 8 notes, if I play a certain pattern, so here's some more terminology for you. So we've talked about octave, chromatic, right? Okay. And now let's talk about something called how the pattern for making a major scale. Okay, major scale is the one that goes. Okay, but there's a certain pattern of notes, so you need a couple more bits of terminology. Okay, it does say Mando for Duffers 3. Yes, it does. It does. This is Mando for Duffers 3. Yes. Okay, so if we, and I'm going to repeat all these concepts over and over again during this session of Duffers, so don't worry if you don't get it all the first time. And plus, you can watch it over and over again, right? Okay, so to make a scale, you need a couple more terms here. So we've learned about octaves, and we learned about chromatic scales, right? That's playing all the notes from here. See, I'm repeating stuff a lot, so you don't forget. Okay, so, but if I play a certain pattern of notes, it will form a major scale no matter where I start. So let's first establish something. If I start on this fret and I go up 1 fret chromatically, because I'm playing the notes connected, you know, all one in a line without skipping any. Start on this A here and play B flat. And we'll talk about that in a minute too. That's a half step. We'll designate with an H, half step. Everybody do that. Secret agent man. Okay, so now if I skip a fret, if I play from this note to that note, 2nd fret to the 4th fret, that's a whole step. Hear the difference? Okay, now let's talk about how you make a major scale then. By combining half steps and whole steps in a particular way, start on any note, follow this pattern I'm about to tell you, you'll make a major scale, okay? So if I go whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half, anywhere, starting anywhere on the fingerboard, I've made a major scale. So let's start with G here. Let's start with G, okay? Now I better start with C just to keep everybody honest. Okay, so let's start with this C here. So C major scale sounds like this, right? Because we did that in Duffers 1 when we were playing our stuff in C, correct? Okay, so let's figure out what's going on there. So from here, from this C, the next note is D. Oh, you know, I want to make sure everybody knows this. I'm saying things that are very obvious, but I want to make sure everybody understands them. You know, the notes go from A to G. I've yet to play an H note. Some notes I've played have sounded like H, and HE double hockey sticks even, but they only go from A to G, right? So if I start on C, it's going to be C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and every major scale follows that pattern no matter what note you start on. It's not going to be those exact notes, but C, X, C, D, E, F, G, and start over at A again, right, because there's no H. A, B, C, D, da, 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 da. Okay, so if I play, so what's making that scale sound the way it is a pattern of half, or sorry, the pattern of whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. Okay, so let's look at that. From C to D as a whole step, right? I'm going to play the open string, but trust me, if I covered it with my finger, that's the space of 2 frets, right? Then another whole step to E. Now a half step. In other words, only just 1 fret difference. So whole, whole, whole. Okay. Whole, whole, half. Whole, 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 half. Half, whole, 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 half. I can't say whole on the first note because there's not a space there. Okay, so let's try that one more time. So, and let's do it now. Let's do it actually on the fingerboard here. Okay, so let's say so we're gonna go whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half to make a major scale, right? So start here on this C. Just put we're gonna go straight up the fingerboard. Okay, so everybody with me still? Okay, so play the C on the G string with your first finger. Okay, find that. So it's the 5th fret. So whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. Now your mandolin may not have frets to make that, but that's where I wanted to start. Okay. Okay. So I guarantee if you follow that pattern, start on any note, you're going to make a major scale going whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Okay. All right. So now let's go back to where we were. We need one more bit of terminology, okay, in order to learn all the notes on the mandolin. Okay, this word is called enharmonic. 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 That means that a note can have 2 names. Haha. How can a note have 2 names? Okay, well, let's talk about that. So if I start here on C and I play the notes, because some notes have to be designated sharp or flat. Depending on what key you're in, they might be called something sharp or something flat. Okay, but it's still the same note. How does that work? Okay, so let's start right here. Now we're getting back to our chromatic scale. So let's start here on this G. Remember we said G. So let's play G scale using whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. In other words, whole step, half step. Whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. So we're going to go from here up to the 12th fret. Remember we did that? That's G, right? There's 13 notes in between, correct? That's the chromatic scale. We play all the notes in between. That's a chromatic scale. Okay, so let's play a regular major scale using the pattern whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Is everybody still with me? Are you still with me? Here we go. That's a whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. Back down. Half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step, whole step, whole step. That's a G scale, right? Okay, so now let us think about the notes now, this enharmonic thing, this sharps and flats thing. You see, because by following this rule of whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half, we can't get away with just playing the notes that don't have a sharp or flat associated with them. Sharp meaning it's a half step higher, flat meaning it's a half step lower, okay? All right, so if we play G, if we're in G, we can name the notes here. So these are the first bunch of notes we're going to learn to name here. Is G, the 2nd fret on the so for starters, remember the notes go from A to G and then start over again, right? There's no H. Okay, so if I go G to the open G to the 2nd fret on the G string is what note? that is A, okay, because it has to start over, right? It's a whole step, so it's because I have to follow whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half, okay? So that's A. Another whole step is B. A half step is C. You see, there's no note between B and C. There's no, we didn't allow for there to be a note between B and C. Between A and B, there is a note, and we'll talk about that. That's the enharmonic note. We're going to talk about how to name that guy. But so C, so G, A, B, C. Now slide your finger up so you can keep going. So C, C, D, whole step, E. Now it happens there's no note between E and F. So here's F. So if we're playing that G scale, it'd sound like this. It's not a major scale. So we have to do something with the note between G, F and G. Because we have to have a half step, right? We have to follow whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. We have to follow it strictly, okay? We don't have any choice, okay? So if we want to play a major scale, we have to follow that pattern of notes, that spacing of notes. So I have to play the note above G, the note above F, between F and G, and we call that note F sharp, okay? That note is called F sharp. But it can also be called, if I go from G, if I down to it, I could call it G flat. So the enharmonic notes have two names. Okay, all right. So that's an important concept. So now let's go back to learning all the names of the notes on the fingerboard. See, if you can't name the notes, and the enharmonic notes, we always want to name them by both names because we need that later on. If we're playing in flat keys, you see, the tendency would be to name the notes the flat name. And if we're playing in sharp keys, the tendency would be to name the notes the sharp name, just as a general rule. It's not a strict rule, but as a general rule, okay? So that's G scale. So that seventh note, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, that seventh note is F sharp. Not this F, it's not that, it's F sharp. So if we state the names of the G scale notes, it's going to be G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. And I'm not trying to, don't get worried, I'm not trying to trick you into reading music, because you need to know all this just to make chords, okay? Even if you don't know what one note looks like from another on a staff, that's not important. It's just nice to know all the names of the notes on your fingerboard, because it's important when you're building chords, okay? Okay, so now, so let's go about naming some other notes. And some other notes you already know. So we already said that this is open G, right? And at the 12th fret, that's G again, right? Because it's an octave away. It's 8 notes in the scale away. Okay, there. 12th fret is repeat, and everything repeats over again. If I had small enough fingers, you could get in between these tiny frets, I could play that. Okay, so now let's name some other notes we know. So, do you know? We've talked about another term. I've used this before in the earlier Duffers series. Unison. You know, two notes that are exactly the same played simultaneously. So the unisons on the mandolin are at the 7th fret. So if I play this note, it's the same as the next string up, except it's out of tune. But don't worry about that right now. It's supposed to be the same note. God almighty, these things, mandolins. It's cursed to play the mandolin. Okay, so trust me, that's the same note. Oh man. Come on, baby. That's better. Okay, so if I go to the 7th fret and I play the next string up, higher, next string higher, that's the same note. So now I know the names of the notes on the 7th fret because it's the same as the next string, right? So if this is D, this is D, and at the 7th fret on the D string is A. The 7th fret on the A string is E, right? And then I'm just going to remember this one. It's B. The 7th fret on the A string is B. So let's name all the open strings again. G, D, A, E. At the 12th fret, G, D, A, E. So we know those. Wow, that's good. That's good. Okay, now let's name the notes at the 7th fret. So D, A, E, B. Oh man, we're on our way to knowing the notes on the mandolin, all the notes, the names of all the notes. Okay. All right. So now let's find another. Let's find some octaves. You know, this is an octave, right? In other words, it's full scales length away. Ba da 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 da. Okay. Now let's find octaves on the next string down. So the 5th fret on the next string, I say up, down. It's down toward the floor, but it's actually up because it's higher in pitch. So the next string up. The 5th fret is an octave. So this note is the same as this note. Are you with me? Now let's go down. D, the 5th fret on the A string is an octave. The 5th fret on the E string is an octave. It's A, right? So we've got this, and we've got this. Okay, so now we know the names of the notes on the open strings. We know the names of the notes at the 12th fret. We know the names of the notes at the 7th fret. We know the names of the notes at the 5th fret, and by the way, at the 5th fret I didn't tell you the name of the note at the 5th fret on the G string, so we don't have one to compare it to. So it's C. So the 5th fret on the G string is C. You can prove that for yourself by starting the major scale, can't you? G, A, B, C, whole, 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 half. Okay. Now let's play a G scale on the G and D strings. And remember, I used to talk about these finger patterns. For right now, let's use this finger pattern. But see, this finger pattern actually is defining what I just have been talking about. Because if this is the nut and this is the 2nd fret, it's whole, whole, half, whole. See, that finger pattern actually represents that arrangement of notes: whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Okay? All right, so let's play. Let's call out the names of the notes of the G scale. Okay? Here we go. G, A, B, C. We're just going to go up. G, A, B, C, D, E, F, sharp, G, right? Now I'm going to say the notes once, and then we're going to play it again, and you're going to say the notes. Hopefully you can say them now while I'm saying them too, but I'm not going to say them for you every time. Here we go. G, A, B, C, D. Let's try again, one more time. G, A, B, C, open D, E, F, G, G, F sharp. Sorry, I should have said F sharp. G, F sharp, E, D, C, B, A, G. Now, if I play this scale, G, I'm going to play it again and say the notes. Well, no, we're going to play it again and you're going to say the notes. Here we go. Ready, go. G. One more time. I don't know why I keep doing that. There we go. Ready, go. What's that one called? F sharp. Come back down. G. Now, without even thinking about the whole, half thing, just with our ear, let's play a scale from, because there's another octave we can accomplish without even shifting up into the upper register of the instrument. So if I go from this G on the, play this G on the D string with your third finger, it's the 5th fret, and with your second finger play the 3rd fret on the E. See, that's another octave, so I play 3 octaves. Or 2 octaves, rather. G, 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 G. Sorry. Okay, so let's play 2 octaves of G scale. Here we go. G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, keep going, A, B, and then I have to shift to get any further. But so if I can play the full G scale. Now, so how many notes had the name sharp associated with them in the G scale? Only one, F sharp. That's why we say G has only one sharp. Oh. That's how the key signatures are formed, by following that pattern of whole, half, whole, half. That defines where the sharps and flats are, and however many of those you count up when you're done playing the scale with that pattern, that's the key signature, or the number of sharps and flats in that key. Okay? All right, so let's try a different scale. Let's try another old familiar scale called the D scale. And let's start on the open D. And you know, we use that same pattern on the A and D string. So let's just play the D scale from here. There's the octave. Remember the octave? That's D, and the 5th fret of the A string is D also. Right? Same pattern of my fingers. I don't really have to think about it. You know when I say, move the fingers over one note and play the same notes but in a different place? We've changed keys. We moved into a different set of sharps and flats, but our fingers don't care or know that. I'm still doing the same goofy things with my fingers, but now I'm in a different key. Okay? All right, so let me get another swallow of coffee here. We're about out of time, so we're gonna next week we'll pick this up right where we're leaving off, and because I want you to be able to look at a chord symbol ultimately and find and construct that chord from scratch. And here's my little chord thingy that you can print out. It shows all the notes. I've got a violin fingerboard, so it does dual duty, but it's the same idea. You can draw your frets in if you want between each set of notes. But that'll give you a guide. But I don't like to use that. I like to figure it out on my own because I can't really memorize that chart, you know. It's like memorizing the multiplication table. You just kind of have to know. You know, you just have to know the answer. Okay, because you can't sit down and figure it out each time. Okay, so let's play D scale just one more time. How's my picture looking? Is the picture okay? Let's see. Oh yeah, the picture's fine. I don't know why it looks weird on my. I've got a special screen that YouTube gives me to see what's going out to you guys, and it looks totally bizarre, enlarged or something. I have no idea why. I'm not even gonna look at that. All right, so now let's see here. Okay. I think you know what? I think we're just gonna quit right there. Okay, so what I want you to do is print this thing out. It's if you're not a patron, become one, because you can get this handy dandy thing and so much more. And if you aren't a patron and you've enjoyed the broadcast, go to ko-fi.com/Charlie Walden, or no, /Big Fiddle Show, and throw me a couple bucks. But anyway, this broadcast will no longer be available publicly. It's going to be unlisted and only available to patrons at patreon.com/Charlie Walden. So that's it for today, folks. I'll see you next Wednesday right here at 2 o'clock Central Time, and we're just going to build on this for the next 3 weeks, okay? So don't be deterred, but I probably not going to be teaching a tune for the next few little times, okay? So just come back and we'll do the same thing. Tomorrow we're going to do the same thing with the guitar, okay? So bring your guitar and I'm gonna just spoon feed it to you just like I did just now. Here, have a spoonful. It's good. It's good for you. Tastes good. That's like you do a kid, isn't it, when you're trying to get them to take the medicine. All right, everybody, thanks a lot. I'll catch you next time. And that's it. That's all for today. That's it, baby.